There's a kind of computer being built right now in a handful of laboratories around the world that does something no computer in human history has ever done. It doesn't calculate one answer at a time, it calculates every possible answer at the same time, in parallel, in a state of being that the people who build these machines openly admit they don't fully understand. Albert Einstein called the underlying physics, and I quote, spooky action at a distance. He meant that as an insult. He thought it could not possibly be real. And he spent the last 30 years of his life trying to prove quantum computing was wrong, but he failed. The physics is real, the machines are real. And as of this morning, one of the small handful of publicly traded companies on planet Earth that is actually trying to build one of these machines is the name BuzzPulse locked in on at 1 o'clock Pacific time. Of the 57,700 stocks the system looked at overnight, one of them is doing something the other 57,699 are not. And the name is not a name most people on financial Twitter were talking about yesterday. This company is not on the front page of CNBC, and your broker has not called you about it. As far as 95% of the investing internet is concerned, this company barely exists. The ticker is RGTI, and the name of the company is Rigetti Computing, headquartered in Berkeley, California. Founded by a physicist who walked away from one of the most prestigious research positions in the world to start it. And today, 6 independent signal layers inside BuzzPulse are pointing at it at the same time, which is sort of interesting because that doesn't happen by accident. I'm Ken Carpenter, and this is Invest AI Savvy, where AI powers smart investing. Happy Friday, May 22nd, 2026. First, nothing in this video is investment advice. I'm not your financial advisor. The signals BuzzPulse produces are data outputs, not recommendations. Please talk to a licensed professional before you do any investing with your money. So let me tell you all about the person who started this company, because the story is genuinely worth 10 minutes of your time. And the story is the only reason this ticker even exists for the system to find. In 2013, a physicist named Chad Rigetti was working at IBM Research in Yorktown Heights, New York. He was doing foundational work on superconducting qubits. If you don't know what a superconducting qubit is, don't worry. Besides me, almost nobody understands superconducting qubits, and that lack of understanding is one reason this stock opportunity exists. The short version goes like this. A regular computer bit is either a 1 or a 0. A qubit, because of quantum mechanics, can be a 1 and a 0 at the same time. Stack enough qubits together, then keep them cold enough, keep them stable enough, and you can solve certain kinds of math problems that would take a regular computer the age of the entire universe to finish. That's the promise. The reality is much, much harder. The qubits have to be cooled to almost absolute zero. They lose their quantum state if you breathe on them. And building a useful quantum computer is, as of today, somewhere between landing on Mars and inventing nuclear fusion in terms of engineering difficulty. Chad Rigetti was, at the time, on a research path most physicists would kill for. IBM is one of 3 companies on planet Earth doing serious quantum hardware work. He had funding, he had a lab, he had collaborators, and he walked away. He packed a U-Haul, drove across the country to Berkeley, and started Rigetti Computing in a garage with a few $100,000. He believed IBM and Google were going to move too slowly. He wanted to build a quantum company the same way you build a software company. Fast, lean, willing to be wrong in public, willing to ship hardware before it was perfect. That's the founding story. Now, here is the part where the story turns, because every story like this has a turn. In March of 2022, Rigetti went public the easy way, a SPAC merger with Supernova Partners Acquisition Corp. 2. For about 15 minutes, the stock traded near $11. The total enterprise value implied the company was worth well over $1 billion. They had revenue in the single digit millions. Now, you and I both know how the story ends. The SPAC bubble popped. The stock fell roughly 95%. And by the end of 2022, Chad Rigetti, the founder, the guy that drove the U-Haul, had stepped down as CEO of the company that carried his name. The board brought in a turnaround executive named Subodh Kulkarni. The company spent the next 2 years quietly, almost invisibly, building hardware while the financial press lost interest entirely. And then, late last year, something happened that nobody on the BuzzPulse engineering team predicted because nobody could have. Google announced the Willow chip. Suddenly, the words quantum computing were back on CNBC. Rigetti, which had been trading near 50 cents, went on a huge run. The handful of pure-play public quantum names became one of the most explosive trading themes of the entire cycle, up 600%, then down 40, then up again, the kind of chart that creates millionaires and destroys them in the same month. I tell you all of this because it is the context the system does not see. BuzzPulse doesn't know who Chad Rigetti is. The convergence layers do not read founder stories. The quality gate does not care that this company started in a garage. What BuzzPulse is showing this morning is that across multiple independent signal layers, social mention velocity, sentiment shift, options flow patterns, and price volume behavior over the last 6 hours of overnight trading, RGTI converged at the top of the universe. That's the systems read. Whether that read holds up in today's session is what we're going to find out together. I have to be honest with you about something here. Quantum computing is one of the hardest sectors in the entire market to be confident about. Every pure play quantum stock has had a stretch where it looked like the next NVIDIA, and then a stretch where it looked like the next zero. The science is real, the companies are real, the timeline to actual revenue is genuinely unknown. If somebody on YouTube tells you with certainty that Rigetti is going to $10 or that it's going down to 50 cents, that person is telling you a story, not analyzing the company. I trust the convergence math more than I trust my own read here. So here is what I'm actually going to do with this. I'm going to watch the open. I'm going to see if the volume confirms what BuzzPulse saw overnight. And I'm going to come back on Tuesday and tell you whether the signal hit, missed, or is still open. That's the proof layer. That's the whole point of running BuzzPulse in public. The watch list behind RGTI is light today. The rest of the greed list is mostly large cap noise the system is correctly downweighted, which is exactly what it's supposed to do. The point of BuzzPulse is not to tell you about Apple this morning. The point of BuzzPulse is to surface the thing that you would not have found on your own. And today that thing is a Berkeley quantum computing company started by a guy who drove a U-Haul across the country with a few $100,000 in his pocket and a hypothesis about how to build a quantum computer company. A quick BuzzPulse University moment before I let you go. People ask me all the time why the system does not just pick NVIDIA or Tesla every morning because of all the chatter that they receive every night. Now, the answer is those names are not discoveries. Everybody already knows them. There's no edge in being the 10th millionth person to mention NVIDIA on the internet today. The job of BuzzPulse is the opposite of that. The job is to find a name like RGTI at the exact moment 6 independent signal layers agree on it before the rest of the internet wakes up and takes notice. Sometimes that produces a Rigetti. Sometimes it produces a stop out on Monday with nothing to talk about. Both get logged in the proof layer and you get to watch all of it. Have a good weekend and happy Memorial Day. Markets are closed and we're off YouTube on Monday 25th. Please watch a taped BuzzPulse Monday instead. I'm Ken Carpenter. This is Invest AI Savvy, and that's the way it is.